I remember watching this like when I was younger when it first came out, and I kind of remember hating this episode because they were all turned into kids. But I was living for Morgan Le Fay. I was like, she looks good.
With that
I was
that
like, this is
mask.
the gold mask on and like the hair up and just like she's sauntering in the room and she had like the little kind of like deep voice a little bit. I was like, oh yeah, I'm gay. I was like, yeah. It was like this is just really moving me in
It's
a way that
confirmed. Yeah, that's fair. All right, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of another relaunch. I am Lanaya Petronova, Dark Star.
oh, your fave, your secret fave. I speaking of turning the brain on, I am the greatest telepath to ever do it, Charles Xavier.
Okay. Ooh. All right. We
We had
like
to kill
Charles.
Beast here.
He's
We
a
gonna talk
nasty
about
man,
that.
but
We love Charles. And Charles is not a nasty man. He is a misunderstood man. But we're gonna talk about all that later,
you
so don't
always
worry.
see. Well, yeah, that's how you know he's a nasty man, y'all. Because the one thing about Keenan, he's going to defend a nasty man. So there we go. Point prover.
I don't know what you mean. I don't know. Mm-mm.
Anyway, how are you?
I'm doing all right. It's been a really good week for me, I think. I'm trying to think. Like, have you ever been asked a question and somebody be like, "Oh, what did you do like yesterday?" You cannot remember, and they say like the farther out you go, like the less likely you are to remember. So now I'm sitting here trying to think about this entire week, and I'm like, what happened? But it was good,
Dang.
I guess. But it's like if I can't think of anything bad, it must have been good. So that's what I'm gonna go with.
Oh, you know what? That's a word.
Boy, I got you on sometimes. How are you doing?
Okay, that's a word. I appreciate that. Who has been a weak child? I have been stressed out from work and dealing with other like personal stuff, but I've been super excited to talk about comic books and stuff and do all
Yeah,
that. That's been a lot of
yeah.
fun. I've been reading some older stuff, getting
Mm.
more into reading some of Superboy's older stuff, which has been
Ooh, are you
interesting.
getting ready for his new book that's coming out?
Yeah, I'm really interested in what's going to be done over there. The artist actually is someone I used to follow like on social media like years ago, so it's really cool to see him like actually be
Mm.
like drawing a real book now. So that's really,
I
really
love
dope,
when that happens.
right?
Shout out to the artists because y'all be talented. Like, continue to push yourselves and put yourselves out there with that work. It's good.
Yeah, push ourselves, y'all. I love seeing that stuff, so that's really cool. But yeah, getting back into comics, that's my happy place.
Okay, we're glad to be of assistance with that.
Ooh. Back in my happy place. All right, but let's go ahead and get into the update of the week. We had not too many, but some fun ones here. Um, Up first, we have the Avengers game has been
Mm.
it's ended. So recently there has been a notice that was put out by Crystal Dynamics, the developers of the game, and they have said that the game will be ending. The last update will be in March, and the final, like all of it it'll be all done from digital sales as well as like the physical copies as long as they're out there will be ending
Yeah.
on in September. So, for those who were playing that game, it looks like they said that all of the cosmetics and everything they're giving them to all players, so like you get everything in the game, and they will try to keep all of the support that they can as long as they can. So from what I'm gathering, it looks like you can probably play the game until like 2025, and then after that,
Hmm.
like probably won't work too well.
That's
But
crazy.
that's
Damn,
wild.
let me turn it on so I can get some of that gear. But you know, I ain't never liked this game. I'm sorry. I was not a fan of it. I like remember when it got announced. I was kind of excited for it. I thought it had a lot of potential, but like I really did like doing the training modules for like the different characters and just like fighting. But the actual missions themselves, it was repetitive in a way that wasn't exciting. I don't think they ever really expanded on the character roster quick enough, or varied it enough. Like we kept getting the same version of different characters. Um, I don't know. I was not a
Now
fan.
there was some drama and some details that kind of came out about this. Allegedly, the next characters that were going to be added were She-Hulk and Captain Marvel. But I guess like very quickly after the game was even like after it came out, Crystal Dynamics kind of said that they felt unsupported by Marvel. So like
Mm.
they felt like they didn't really get a lot of support with continuing any kind of bug updates or anything with the game. So it was kind of just like left on them. And the lead developer of the game was fired because of some
Mm.
racist and transphobic tweets that came out from him.
Oh, the game was doomed. It was not meant for this world. Like they just had to get rid of it. It makes
Yeah. So that actually probably makes sense why Marvel kind of distanced themselves from supporting Crystal Dynamics from this. And once the lead developer had gotten fired, the rest of that team was allegedly moved over already to the new Tomb Raider game that they were already working on. Amazon is working on a new Tomb Raider game with Crystal Dynamics. So it seems like the game was probably dead in the water. It sucks. I was excited. I only really bought the game because eventually I figured they were going to add Captain Marvel. I wanted to play with her. I wanted to fly around, shoot some blasts, punch some stuff.
And that was the thing. I think all of the characters who were already in the game, they were actually people I wanted to play with. Captain America, Black Panther was fun. I played with like Thor every now and again. But then after that, it was just kind of like it took so long for someone new to come out. And then when they did come out, it was like, okay, we're just getting Kate Bishop Hawkeye. Okay, we're getting who else even came out in the game?
Black Panther, Spider-Man was a PlayStation exclusive.
Which turned a bunch of people off. I play on Xbox.
I know that turned a lot of people off. Spider-Man fans are everywhere, so you can't limit them from anything.
The Wanda fans were going crazy because they wanted her in the game, and then there was like that one little thing that happened where it was like a glitch or something, and they talked about her, so they just knew she was about to come.
Right. But then allegedly she wasn't coming. The next plans for the few characters were Ironheart and some other characters who were basically just like reskins of characters who were already in the game. Yeah.
Again, the game's big.
Oh, they were gonna put Shuri in the game as well, but again, that would have just Black Panther was already in it. So
Black Panther. I mean.
Oh well, it sucks because I hope this doesn't impact the idea that a superhero game can't succeed, especially like a Marvel one.
I think it's kind of frustrating too because when you think about the last two Marvel games that have been released between this and the Guardians game, which the Guardians game was really good. I've talked about that. I played it a couple of times.
Won an award.
Now. It won the award and everything like that, but it just wasn't super successful financially. But then here you have something that like wasn't really successful at either. Mm-hmm. And it's just kind of like you said, how is that going to affect like what they're putting out and how they're putting these games out? Are they going to try and focus more on the story and like how they did with Guardians and build upon that to hope better for the next one? Are they just going to kind of scrap how they do all of them and start all over? I don't know. We've got a few games that I guess are still coming out, so we'll see too.
This may be something where they look at it where they aren't interested in doing the live service kind of games because Spider-Man was a hit. And so was Guardians. It wasn't a financial hit, but it did pretty well critically, and with the fan base too. I think they may just focus on, maybe not so much the live service stuff where we're updating it all the time. We may just do like straight story games.
It could also depend on like the developer as well. Who did the Avengers game again?
Crystal Dynamics.
What other games have they done?
They did the Tomb Raider reboots. Did you ever play any of those?
No, but I knew someone who did, and I watched them play it.
I liked those. They were fun.
It was cool. I missed the days
kind of
where
a Tomb Raider
she jump off a cliff and break all of her bones. I really liked the game when you could do that.
Also classics.
Yeah.
Tomb Raider's got it. All right. Up next, we have learned that Xosha Roquemore has joined the cast of Captain America: New World Order. Now, I know you are the big Captain America fan here, especially when it comes to Sam Wilson. Who do you think she is going to be? They've kind of been hush hush about that, but they say she is in a prominent role.
I think she's going to be Nightshade. Remember, I've talked about her before. Tilda, she was the character. She had the Afro puffs and
They're going to go have clothes on.
Yeah.
Okay. She's a hot girl.
I think it's going to be her. They have history together in the comics. She's actually appearing in his series right now. She's like a really cool character. She's kind of been like a villain, but then she took on the role of Nighthawk. So she kind of plays the role of like anti-hero sometimes. She's a scientist, really smart girl. That's what I said. I told you would like her. You would like her. Her costume has changed. She's not wearing the little skimpy thing anymore. She's more like, I'm armored up, or like showing you that I'm the tech girl, the scientist doing whatever needs to be done here.
Nice shade.
Yeah, get into her. Tilda, get into her. She's that girl. But that's who I think she's going to be. And if it is, I'm going to be really excited because she's a character I like. So, crossing my fingers for that. I saw some people saying Misty, but
I was going to say that. It looks like that's what the people were guessing.
We don't need her yet. Oh. Although, I will say I would appreciate a new Misty Knight because I was not a fan of the one from Luke Cage.
Oh, well. It's Netflix.
They got Charlie Cox and Kristen Ritter. Right. Everybody else was kind of like, I don't know. Mike Coulter was fine, actually, as Luke Cage, I think. I felt like he was corny, but like I personally feel like Luke Cage is corny.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah. I prefer Luke Cage the mayor. I like him as like that.
Mayor Cage is cool, but he has to grow into that. He gotta be corny first.
Right. Right. All right, and our last bit of an update this week comes out from Marvel, and they just recently announced Avengers #1 by Jed McKay and CF Villa coming in May, and the roster will be Scarlet Witch, Black Panther, Captain America, Sam Wilson, Vision, and Thor. Captain Marvel will be leading the team, and did I miss someone?
Iron Man.
Oh, Iron Man.
Because he's forgettable. I get it. I loved it. Very excited for this. Everybody knows I'm a Jed McKay fanboy. I think CF's art is great. This team, it feels very classic. I feel like everybody knows I'm a fan of Aaron's Avengers run. I know people don't like it because he be doing stuff with the Phoenix, and the Phoenix only got to be one person and stuck in the X-Men, whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's fun. He's just been doing off to the wall, multiverse stuff, doing lots of different team-ups, introducing lots of weird characters. It's been cool. His team, though, has been very, like, out there. Blade's there, Echo's there with the Phoenix, Ghost Rider's there, who I think could have actually stayed on this group a little bit. Namor's was there. She-Hulk, it was people were coming in and out. It was different. Nighthawk joined. This one feels like, okay, not only are all these people got movies coming out, but you got to get back to the basics of kind of like who the like main Avengers are, and just like this superhero team full of A-listers. And I was like, and that's kind of what this really gives. And I think you could have switched a few people out. Don't get me wrong. I personally love Thor, but he got a lot of stuff going on. I don't think he needs to be there. And Iron Man, I'm always willing to take him out of a team. And I think you could have like got a few other folks in. I still would have appreciated a Wasp, a She-Hulk, Photon, I think would have been good. Even someone like a Hercules coming onto this team, I think would have been a nice little like callback and still gave that feel of like big characters doing big things. So that's that. But all in all, like very pleased, very excited. I will be reading.
Yes, I would definitely be seated for this. I think what I'm most excited for has been, I'm a big fan of Jed McKay's writing. Y'all know I still go up for that Taskmaster mini. But the one thing I think that he's like really excelled at, in my opinion, and I'm not the biggest Moon Knight fan, but I've heard you talk about the issues on the show, and you always talk about how like he respects the previous runs, but like by bringing everything there and making sure that you feel like those count, but then like kind of moving everything forward. And I feel like that's what we're gonna get with this Avengers run,
Yeah.
where all these characters right now, yeah, they got movies coming out, and sure, they could have been a thing where they are being put together for that. But but at the same time, like they are really like classic Avengers, but they like have such long histories with
Mhm.
Marvel for like go back years. It'll be very interesting to see the way that he kind of says, okay, well, this is them, but now.
And I also think like that's a really good point when you think about these characters. They have long histories with Marvel and each other, but this particular group, although there have been pockets where some of them have been around each other, they have not been together like this in a very long time.
No,
Like with
like
this
this.
specific group, like when was the last time you really saw like Sam and Carol on the team together, or Sam and Tony for that matter? You know, Steve has been there with them. When was the last time Wanda was even an Avenger?
It's been a while.
You know
She
what
been
I'm
dealing with a
saying?
lot.
She's been going through some things. So it's like just to kind of see them all, how they're in these spaces of they got their movies coming out. A
And
lot of them
Wanda
have
and
their own
Vision on the
solo.
team together too. Like
Wanda
that's
and
been a
Vision and
while.
team together. They got their solos where they're dealing with their other stuff. They're all in these like kind of new spots in their lives. And it's like, okay, how do they interact now? Does Sam still hate Tony? Let's hope so. Is Vision and Wanda going to be kind of given awkward, or is he going to be like, I moved on? You know, she was dating Dr. Voodoo. I guess we've forgotten all about that. You know, how are T'Challa and Sam going to be with each other since they've been fighting in in Sam's book? So there's just like a lot of
Mhm.
different things that's going to be interesting to see, I think, for this group.
How
Again,
is Carol gonna lead this team? Because I know everybody's gonna be like, well, we don't want to listen to you, girl. So
okay, because it's like we went down that road before and it did not go well. So it's like, why are we trying to do it again?
yeah.
But again, there's like just a lot of stuff there that I think is going to be really fun to play with. Again, I would have still liked somebody else, and even maybe like a nice little wild card member. You like Living Lightning? He could have been cool for this group as well. But one thing
Oh,
again I will say about Jed McKay is that I feel as though his writing, he brings it all together, but he's very additive. So I would not be surprised if this isn't like the big seven, quote unquote, to start out with, and then
yeah.
by issue whatever we have maybe like four more people on the roster, because I do feel like the Avengers is one of those teams that can benefit from being a very big team.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think this is probably the big seven. I think that there is going to probably be a couple more additions. And maybe some people may bounce. Who knows? But I'm excited
Okay,
for this
Tony
one. This will
about to
be a
be
lot of
broke.
fun.
I don't even know he can't stay in the book, right?
Oh yeah.
Ain't that his whole
Well
thing
then who
coming
gonna
up? He
finance
about to
it?
lose all his. He gonna lose his money, so he gonna leave. We gonna have to get somebody else in. I love it.
Sounds like this is gonna be a hot run. Um, all right, y'all. Well, let's go ahead and take a break and then we'll come right back.
Cool. All right, hello everyone, and welcome back for the comic section of the week. Now you didn't have any books this week, I know, but you said you had been doing some like back reading and doing some old stuff. So before we get into like the new stuff that I read this week, I want to talk a little bit about that. What are you getting into? Who are you reading? Who are you finding you love?
Okay. Yes, so I have been reading some Superboy stuff, and I guess technically, The Death of Superman. I had never read that
Mhm,
before. I have only seen like the animated movie, and
mhm.
I had never read a lot of the older stuff. But there were some really cool characters in there that I'd never really read or like had too many interactions with. Like Maxima, she's a nasty lady, but she's kind of
Yeah,
cool.
she is.
I like her. I kind of like her. Um, she did not have any. She did not take anything from Guy Gardner. I really liked her on the team.
Mhm,
It was just interesting to see that that was the Justice League instead of like what was in the movie that I've seen.
mhm.
Um, I've only been reading this because it's actually the debut of Superboy, and I've read a lot of Superboy stuff when he was later, when he had like the full Kryptonian powers, but not a lot of the
Yeah.
stuff when he had just the like the tactile telekinesis. So I wanted to read that and some of his 90s stuff.
Mhm.
It's been pretty good so
I think it's the stuff with him having telekinesis was always so interesting to me because I'll never forget. I really did always think he had super strength until I don't know. I read some. I think it was when I started reading John's Teen Titans, and like I just they used to have the descriptions of the characters with their powers, and I was like telekinesis. I said, when did that happen? And I was like, was I not paying attention? But then I like went back. I was like, oh, he has been like using telekinesis this whole time. But I thought that was cool. It's a nice little switch.
It makes him different. I also find it interesting. I'm sure at some point I'm going to come across it during this reread. But I guess at one point, you know how they used to do those like letters to the writers, so like letters to the editors at the end of the books?
Yeah.
I guess in one of these, Jeff Johns actually wrote in and said that, the human father, the human like donator of Superboy should be Lex Luthor. And I think they wrote back to him like, oh, like that doesn't make any sense or whatever. But sure enough, like
we're actually gonna take this idea now.
Sure enough, when he actually ended up becoming the writer of it, he made sure that's what happened. So I think that's kind of funny.
I wrote into like one of those things once before. It was for the X books. I wrote into Uncanny X-Men, and they printed it in one of the issues. It was around like the 450s or something like that. I'll never forget because I used a fake name. But I was like specifically asking about Jesse Bedlam.
Well, we know it's you now. I always assume anytime I see anything out there about Bedlam, it was probably you.
It's like my ghost account or something, yeah. But shout out to the people because I be seeing his name like when they're coming up with their new X teams and things like that. I be seeing his name on them. I be like, and that's all that matters. You just got to keep putting it out there. It's gonna happen. This might be the year. I don't know. We'll see.
Who knows?
That's exciting. Well, I'm excited for you in this journey into more Superboy. Do you have anything else on your list to read for him, or are you gonna go back and read any other stuff other than his solo stuff?
Mostly his solo. So far, I've just been reading like the death of Superman takes place it was like across Action Comics. I think like Avengers of Superman. And Superman he got a whole corner of books. I didn't know he had this many like spin-offs. And as everybody knows, yes, I'm in the super fam now. So
that's exciting.
I'm doing my history, doing my homework.
You should maybe go back and read like the John's John's Teen Titan stuff. I felt like that has some good Superboy moments in it.
Oh, it did.
And then like he did his
crossover in a while.
I was actually going back and rereading it a couple of weeks ago. That's the lie. I wasn't reading the entire run. I was just reading the Titans of Tomorrow arc. That was history.
That was great.
So I was like, oh yeah, this is hot. Okay. Well, shout out to that. Well, moving to the things that are out currently, we had a lot of books out this week. Some mentions, the DC Lazarus Planet Assault on Krypton issue came out, and that was kind of like a little anthology. It had a bunch of different stories that are just talking about Lazarus Planet and what the other characters are going to be doing. Like there's that Power Girl story that's going to be happening in the back of Action Comics. Like that was here. There was a Dreamer story that went on. It's actually kind of good. Again, I went into Lazarus Planet thinking it was an extension of Dark Crisis, and it is just a whole different event. But it seems to be a lot better than Dark Crisis, from what I can tell. It's kind of hitting. So shout out to them for that. Avengers Forever 13 also came out. That is a crossover with the main Avengers book. We are gearing towards, again, the end of Jason Aaron's run to prepare for Jed McKay. Shout out to that. Hotness to hotness. That's what I like. That is what I like. But we'll go ahead and get to our main books that I wanted to discuss. First on our list was Strange number 10. That comes from Jed McKay and Marcelo Ferreira. And this is the final issue of this Strange run for Clea. She took over the role as Sorcerer Supreme, and she's kind of been on this mission to find Steven and bring him back from the dead. We've run into this new guy, the Harvest Man, who we come to find out is actually the dead Stephen Strange, who is now the Sorcerer Supreme of Death for Death herself. They're starting to work together to take down this blasphemy cartel, and at the end of the last issue, the cartel used their powers to reanimate Sentry and send him as this zombie revenant to go and kill Clea and Steven. So this entire issue is just them fighting him. And they're using all of their spells, and they're using their magic and their blasts and their beams, and it is not working. He is tearing them up. And
nobody even in death.
Yeah, it's he is absolutely decimating them. Like he's got Steve, and mind you, like Steven's already dead. It's like he's on the ground, like I'm about to die again. But throughout this entire time, we've been finding out that Clea and Steven like shouldn't touch. She's the sorcerer supreme of life, quote unquote. He's the sorcerer supreme of death. If they got together, kissed or anything like that, the results could be catastrophic. Sentry's been tearing them up, and so Clea's like, you know what? We're about to die. Give me a kiss. And as they kiss, it's actually not catastrophic. Their powers and like everything just kind of merges together, and they become this one like hermaphrodite being called Strange. That is a combination of both of them, like life, death, rebirth. Like it was hot. It looks amazing. And so together they've got all this new power. They defeat the Sentry. They end up defeating the guy who's in charge of the blasphemy cartel. Like beautiful art, just like the narration of Clea describing her relationship with Steven and all of that stuff was really well done. A lot of people don't know this, but I am a sucker for a love story. I think like the whole thing of love being the ultimate power, it is so
it's
good.
Beautiful.
It is so good. Like there's nothing stronger than the power of love. And like that is what this showed. I was like, absolutely, I am here for it. After everything is said and done, they like kind of go back into their regular forms. Steven's going through one more change. He's alive again. And he has returned to his normal self. And so now he and Clea are going to like ride off together, like doing the magic thing, being Sorcerer Supremes together and like just being happy. And that is going to lead into the new Doctor Strange series that'll be coming out soon. Also still written by Jed McKay with both of them at the forefront. Really great.
They're still going on together.
Yeah, I was kind of like worried when it first got announced. I was like, Lord, they're about to send Clea back to the Dark Dimension, but she's been on the covers, so she's there. The doll is here.
There was this article written about him that was retweeted actually by the official Doctor Strange account. That the title of the article said, "Marvel's next step for Doctor Strange, making him a wife guy," and that kind of makes sense. Like, Strange has kind of like been around forever. He's done everything at this point. You know, his story evolving into something where it's more about him and his partner now instead of just him always being by himself is a great next step.
It really is, and I'm excited for it. And again, I've tried Doctor Strange books before. I've tried to get into Steven. It never really worked. I don't think he has ever been more interesting than he is when he's with Clea. Mm-hmm. And I think it's because, again, like they are such a like just that pairing. They are very confident in themselves. They're confident in their abilities. They're confident in each other. They know how to do different things. Like, again, even as they go into battle, Steven's like, Clea, don't kill nobody. And she's like, I'll see what I can do. But at the same time, she's not going to do it because she knows it's going to be a problem. She don't want to cause a problem. So it's just like they work. It's really good. This issue was, I'd give it a 4.5 out of 5. Really great stuff. Like, you need to tap in. I know you try and pretend like you don't like magic, but
I don't pretend. It's because I don't. But it's interesting. I do like Jed McKay, so maybe I could. Also, though, like, is he writing like every Avenger?
As he should.
Because like, if he's writing Doctor Strange, he'll be writing the Avengers team. He's also writing Moon Knight.
Mm-hmm. He's got it. He's taking it. He's the boy. And we love to see that for him. But if you haven't been reading Strange, I'm pretty sure like a few of the issues are up on Marvel Unlimited right now. So if you have Marvel Unlimited, go add it to your list, get into it, check it out. It's a really good book. It was a really dope series. I'm excited for the next part. Next up on the list is Dark Web X-Men #3, and that comes from Gerry Duggan, and we had art by Phil Noto, and this was the end of the Dark Web tie-in for the X-Men team. Here, it was a nice issue, I guess. At the end of last issue, well, I will say, before I even get to it, the title of this issue was Jean versus Jean. And I thought that was very funny. But at the end of the last issue, Maddie basically confronted Jean, like, you ruined my life, blah, blah, blah. Jean was like, I'm tired of hearing this. She slapped her. Now we're starting here from the slap. And the girls start fighting. They're tussling. Jean is like, I am tired of you trying to blame me for all of the bad things that have happened in your life. I've tried to be nice to you. I've tried to do this for you. Like, I've tried to move past it. Girl, she's like slapping her. She is throwing her around telekinetically. She is punching her in the face with like a telekinetic fist. She is bleeding, like making her bleed out of her nose. Maddie's trying to fight back. Apparently, she has the same powers as Jean, so like that's a thing that she can do as well. But Jean is just really tossing her
Okay.
around. Yeah.
News to
And
me.
after she kind of does it, she's just like, what is it? What do you even want? Maddie's basically upset because she misses Nathan. And she's like, it's not fair that Jean got to raise Nathan and she missed out on all this stuff. And like, to me, that was crazy because I
Did
read
she try
it,
to kill
frankly, and
Nathan?
she definitely was trying to kill that baby. Now you sad because you ain't watch him grow up. You wasn't going to watch him grow up if you got your way. But nonetheless, Jean is just kind of like, okay. And she basically shares the memories of raising Nathan with Maddie.
Cool.
And it just awakens something in her. She talks about she's ready to stop being angry. Havoc and Cyclops and like the rest of the team finally kind of start joining in. And she's like, I did this whole mess. We got to make things right. Havoc confirms that he is in fact leaving the X-Men and that he wants to stay with Maddie. He's like, my family stuck with me. The X-Men just isn't where I want to be. Jean makes Maddie scream. Yeah. Jean has Maddie do the infamous "To Me, My X-Men" cry, and like Maddie kind of does it real weak, and Jean's like, "Girl, you can do better than that." It makes her like a telekinetic bullhorn. She yells it again. They get together. They're going to go stop whatever else has been going on in Dark Web, and
not whatever else.
I don't know. I'm not reading anything else. Whatever else is going on, but this was kind of the end of this. We also get the reveal that Jean was pushing for the resurrection of Maddie. So like that was kind of thing, when Havoc is talking about leaving, she's like, I'm all about second chances. That's why I told the council to revive you. And Maddie's like, you did that for me. And so it looks like they're moving to a space where they can kind of be sisters.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Her family, Jean's family was killed. So this would be nice, to have a
they
sister.
were. So she's got her twin sister now. And it seems like obviously Havoc's gone from the team. And we saw that Laura joined in that most recent issue of X-Men. Seems like him and Maddie might be doing something with their own team, potentially. Maybe another type of X-Men. I know I personally have the theory that he's going to be the Captain Krakoa that showed up on the Free Comic Book Day cover with the team. I also got some other theories about that, but I don't know if I'm ready to let those loose into the wild just yet.
Yeah.
They might cause some issues. So we're going like But all in all, I thought the issue was like fine. I do think Maddie's heel turn was a little like weird. Obviously, she kind of went through the similar situation in New Mutants, which felt like she was just lying so she could get in charge of Limbo, which brings us here of her unleashing the demons. And it's kind of like you did all this just because you wanted some memories. You could have asked for that, doll. You didn't have to do all of these things. But that's Maddie. She's a petty lady. She trifling. She did what she did. Apparently, she's forgiven yet again. And we'll see where we go from here. I still remember her trying to kill that baby. I don't really forgive nothing she's done, but she's gonna be around.
Is she gonna like stay in limbo now?
It seems like her thing will
like,
be
are
limbo.
we done with Maddie? Like, are we done now? Like, has she healed? Can we be done with this?
I think she is healing, but we aren't done with Maddie. She's Jean.
And Jean gonna find a way. So
she's Jean, and she's Jean with magic.
Oh no.
So the people are going to go up for her. Noto's art was really good on this issue as well. He really does emotional bits when he gets up close with the girls and Maddie and Jean. Yeah, it does really well with here, and it works for the story. So shout out to them. I think this was honestly another I give this 4 out of 5. Really solid. Again, Maddie's stuff is kind of like feels a little bit rushed, but I feel like that's Maddie in general. So, and last book that I wanted to discuss this week was Immortal X-Men number 11 from Kieron Gillen and Lucas Werneck. Was it actually 11? I thought it was 10. Hold on, let me double check. It was 10, excuse me. This was Charles Xavier issue.
Big Daddy X.
And let me tell you something about Charles Xavier. That's a good man. Now, At the end of the last issue, the council, excuse me, basically figures out that Sinister has been doing something. He's killed Emma, Hope, Exodus, and Xavier. And like Kitty and the rest of the group are like, we got to go get Sinister's ass. They get the X-Men. They all run to where his hideout is. Do you remember during Gillen's run on Uncanny X-Men when they did all the Phoenix 5 AVX stuff, Sinister had that lab in Alaska?
Yes, it had all those Maddies.
Yes. That's where he's hiding out here in this issue. So that was a nice little roundabout way to bring that. I thought that was cool.
Of course. Or roundabout or Gillen just talking about his own stuff.
Roundabout. It was a roundabout. Okay. He's like...
Okay.
Cyclops even mentions it. He's like, oh, we destroyed this place when we were the Phoenix 5. I guess we're going to have to do it again. And I was like, oh, that's kind of high. I'm not going to lie. But nonetheless, so like all of these people are storming Sinister's base to try and find him. The council helps. While this is going on, we go to the hatchery and we see the Cuckoos with the 5 minus Hope, but Sync and Mimic are there. And they're basically telling them, like, one of you have to try and be Hope so we can try and revive her because she is the key to resurrection. And we'll know. Mimic is, like, punking out. He says it's too much pressure. He doesn't want to do it.
Mimic?
He don't want to
mimic other people's powers? I thought he only had the powers of the 05.
He can mimic other people's, but I think, like, he has the 05 permanently.
Gotcha.
And so he's like, he can't do it. He doesn't want to go. Sync steps up. He says, I'll do it because it has to be done. He gets like really close to Hope's body so he can mimic her. And apparently he does it. And she comes busting out the egg. And I don't think it really fully worked though, because there's still a data page later that talks about how Hope is integral and like a super important part of the resurrection process. And without her, it doesn't really work the right way. Mm-hmm. And then I get more into that as I get to the end of the issue. While we're doing all of this, Charles Xavier is narrating this issue. And wow, this is why I say he's misunderstood. He basically talks about how people see him and how people are nervous around him, how people suspect him for things, and how people don't trust him. And he says, you know what? That's a good thing. A lot of people might think my methods are bad. A lot of people might think that I'm a bad guy, but the way that I do things has to be done for a reason. He's like, mutants are people to be feared. He's like, look at Magneto. He's like, you know, when Magneto lost his daughter, he lashed out at a village of people. Would that village be able to see a mutant as anything other than bad? Would, you know, whatever, he just goes on this rant about it. But then he talks about himself, and he says, you know, he lets you in on a secret. There will never be a nuclear war. And Charles goes on this entire thing about how he has placed telepathic suggestions in the various people's minds across the globe that, you know, if you're the person whose finger hovers over that button where you're about to launch the missiles out into another country and kill a bunch of people, your head will explode. You'll die. You'll do all these things. And he has done this for a bunch of people around the world to ensure its safety. And then he's like, are you petrified? He's like, good, you should be. Now you see the world as I do. He said, because I did this with a single thought. Imagine what anybody else can do. And he just talks about, he's like, imagine what bad people with that power can do. We have to have someone in place to kind of set everybody straight and like keep the tie.
The arrogance is.
He's cleared it. And so, you know, as this is going on, while he's narrating, they're going after Sinister. There finally gets to his lab. They take him down. They go back. They put him through the pit. Sinister seems to be gone. The threat of him has dissipated. End of the issue comes again. Xavier is discussing about someone bad with his power, and we thank God that no one has his power. That is a bad person. He takes off his cerebral helmet, and what does he have on his forehead? A Sinister diamond. So it seems as though in all of Sinister's planning and what he's been doing, he has somehow been able to splice his DNA into other people. And it seems like he's got some backups where he can take over. So he's taken over Charles Xavier. And then you also have to go back and think about the people who also just got resurrected with him: Hope, Emma, Exodus. There's potential that he is in them as well. And I think that, and then we go to Sins of Sinister. Mm-hmm. It was excellent. Werneck, I give Werneck a lot sometimes on his art. I feel like he's gotten better. Let me say that he's improving a lot. The action scenes are really good. Of course, he draws really pretty people. You know, he loves him some Jean Grey, so she gets a lot of really hot shots
I'm
throughout
sure,
the
yes.
book, where she's like using her powers.
She's gonna be the focal point if
You
he's
can
the
always
artist.
tell. You can always tell when the artist has a favorite character. So I thought, but it was cute. The team was like really good. It was cool seeing the council and stuff in action. Sinister. I know they walked him through after they got him, and like everyone is booing him on the island. That was kind of fun to see. But again, it is Sinister. He's about 50 steps ahead of people. After they do take Sinister, I thought it was interesting that Destiny immediately goes to Mystique, and she's like, "We need to leave immediately." And like then they did. So there's a lot going on. Again, I think that also leads into kind of the Storm and Brotherhood book that's going on during Sins of Sinister. Storm is the only person who hasn't died. So if no one's getting affected by Sinister, it's definitely not going to be her. So shout out to her for that.
Is that how she gets to live that whole time? Because isn't there that many series taking place like across 1,000 years, and she like is old?
Yeah. So I think that's why it happens. Or she's still alive. She's one of the few who hasn't been resurrected. So because I think I've seen some tweets of people going back through like past panels of resurrections and them injecting the DNA into people, and you'll see like the Sinister symbols on there. So Sinister's probably in everybody who's died.
Yeah. That's wild. I guess I didn't think about it that he would be inserting his own DNA, because I remember when I can't remember who was getting resurrected, but Sinister was the one who provided the DNA, and I was like, I should have known that that there was something bad happening.
You're just with Sinister, he's a bad guy. You just kind of expect it anyway, and I think that's been the thing. It was like we know he was bad, but his bad was a means to an end. But we've just let him be bad for too long. But it's also kind of like, no, y'all could have just found somebody else to do it. You just didn't want to. But nonetheless, we're here now. We're going in the Sins of Sinister. We'll see what happens.
Get Exodus back. He's not gonna like been turned into a Sinister, and now they can be villains and hate each other again, and not just shade each other in council meetings. Now it's time to fight.
And then there are still the other Sinister clones walking around. There was the Orbis. There was the guy from X-Men. What's his name? Stasis. People have been theorizing that Mother Righteous might be one. So we'll see how it goes. All in all, I give this issue also a 4 out of 5. Great narrate. Like, I love Gillen's voice for Xavier. I thought it was spot on. Xavier is one of the greatest mutants alive. There was this cool panel where he like confronts Sinister, and he's got his like guys, and he's telling them to fire at Xavier, and he makes all their heads explode. I was like, I didn't know he could do this, but I'm living for
it. Yeah. When it comes to telepathy, there's a lot of tricks.
It ain't nobody better. Like he tells them all the time. He says, I can do it. I don't know. So really good books this week. Those are the comics.
Wow. All right, y'all. Well, let's go over into the AR Club this week. And this week we watched episodes 5 through 8 of Justice League Unlimited. And I'm going to go ahead and say first that the episode order on this list that I have been reading, the episode descriptions on, is different than what HBO Max has. Now, HBO Max, everything is all up in the air right now. But I will continue to read through. Either way, we all watch the same stuff, so I'll just read through these and follow along with the episodes. So there was the Kid Stuff episode, which was where Mordred he rebels against his mom, and he uses his magic and removes all the adults from Earth. The Justice League, they're like out on a mission, and Green Lantern tries to protect everybody, but then the spell washes over them. They end up in like this alternate dimension. I did really like when I think his name is King Cobra? No, Copperhead. He was like freaking out on the ground, and Jon Stewart was like, be calm, like please relax. Yeah. We are probably just in another dimension, even though Copperhead thought they were all in hell because he figured that's where he was going.
Why wouldn't you think that? Look at where we at.
Right. Oh, I thought that was funny. But Morgan Le Fay decides that, in order for you guys to go and stop him, I can transform you guys into children, and you can go back and defeat my son Mordred. I thought they were so cute when they got turned into kids. Little John Stewart, when he changed his glasses into his little mask, I thought was great.
Mm-hmm.
When they were all running, and well, the rest of the team was flying. Batman was running and he couldn't really catch up. That was funny.
I think they was making fun of him. I remember watching this like when I was younger when it first came out, and I kind of remember hating this episode because they were all turned into kids. But I was living for Morgan Le Fay. I was like, she looks good.
With that
I was
that
like,
mask.
the gold mask on and like the hair up and just like she's sauntering in the room and she had like the little kind of like deep voice a little bit. I was like, oh yeah, I'm gay. I was like, it was like, this is just really moving me in a way that.
That's fair.
But going back and like watching, no, I actually thought this episode was a lot of fun. Them as kids was like cool. They were made some funny jokes. It was like fun when they were making fun of like Diana and Bruce and about like how they kind of liked each other and stuff like that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and when John tells Superman, you've got like 50 different kinds of visions, you can't see this.
Yes, they were clear. Kids are mean, so like I felt that was very true to life.
Oh yeah, so when Diana like yelled at the kids to be calm, and she was like, "I'm gonna tell your parents," I was like, "Oh, she's mean."
Yeah, yeah. In real life too.
Okay, the other episode that we watched was This Little Piggy, and this was actually written by Paul Dini. Now, this episode had Wonder Woman turned into a pig by Cersei. And I remember watching this episode when I was younger and thinking that I was kind of bored, but as I've gotten older, I think it's a lot of fun. One thing that I have to let people in on is one of my favorite tropes in superhero media or any kind of media is when someone calls a magic user a witch. And like the disgust the magic user has on them, it's very funny to me because they always are so like, oh my God, like how dare you call me that? I think that is really funny. So when Wonder Woman saw Cersei, was like, "What do you want, witch?" And Cersei was like, "Whoa!" Like, I wasn't even gonna do anything at first, but now you got to become a pig.
Like, now you got to become a pig, which I thought was like really funny.
Yeah, and Batman and Zatanna like team up. Batman goes to Zatanna for help. She talks about we used to be a thing, which I think is funny. Or also Zatanna is old. I found it funny though when she tried to use her locating spell get that guy. I don't know his name or what kind of shop he had, but she went to that magic shop. And just the way that magic worked and how he didn't take cash or card. He only took like certain magic things. But and she tried to use her locators. It didn't work.
I think one of the interesting things about this episode was that this was one of the first real times I had ever been introduced to Bwana Beast. And
oh, yeah, me too.
That was like, I think we had talked about him before, but that's like when I went back and found out he was like this white guy who was like a superhero in Africa.
Yeah, he don't make a lot of sense. I don't think that's
he got like this power to like communicate with animals. But I like remember something because I looked at his costume in the cartoon. I was like, oh, he must be like a wrestler character or something like that because this is crazy. And then I like got into him and I was like, oh, this is crazy for real.
He would just got a mask on and some leopard print shorts. That's it. Or he going to a warehouse party or something.
Like looking for this pig that he can't find, which was like really fun. I thought that this whole episode was like cute. The end when Bruce has to sing his song as the boon to get Anna back, that was like very sweet.
You know what? Rest in peace to Kevin Conroy because he truly is like iconic as Batman, still the voice of Batman I hear when I read him. And that was him really singing at the end. So I thought that was cool.
Good old guy. Rest in peace for real. That's a real one.
Yeah. Okay, then there was the episode called The Greatest Story Never Told, and this is when the Justice League battle Mordru, who I know him as a villain from the Legion of Superheroes. He's like one of their like really big bads. He like is from like the Magic Planet, and I think he tried to rule it or something like that. Really big bad evil magic person. All of the Justice League try to fight him, but this is mostly a Booster Gold centric episode, and Booster tries to kind of show off that he's a superhero while also showing his personality, which is very like corporate. You know, he is from the same era as the Legion of Superheroes. He's from the year 3000, but he used time travel technology to go back in time to be a superhero because he just wanted to be a star because he was like a janitor in the future. Do you like Booster Gold?
Is this a safe space?
It is. Speak your truth.
I don't really see it for Booster Gold. The whole like Booster Gold, Blue Beetle pairing, it has never moved me whatsoever. I will say, Donald Faison being cast as Booster Gold on the Legends of Tomorrow show was elite casting. And I think that was really good. But like Booster Gold as a character, but you know, also like time travel and me aren't really synonymous.
Yeah. I mean, he gets stuck in the past. So like he doesn't really time travel. He just used it that one time to get into the past because he wanted to be a superhero. I find Booster, he's fun. He's like, I think him and Blue Beetle, when they're together, they're like a fun little bro duo. They can be kind of fun together, you know?
I get the appeal of the bromance, the duo. Again, like if Donald Faison is Booster Gold, then Zach Braff from Scrubs would be Blue Beetle. Like I remember that relationship on that show. Like people loved it.
Exactly.
That being the thing.
Very that.
But individually, no, I'm good.
Yeah. I mean, I thought he was fun in this episode. It was cute. Him trying to save the day, rescue that lady with the black hole. I thought it was cute.
It was cool, I guess. It was fine.
Now, the next episode, though, was it's probably my favorite of the season. One of my favorites. Probably like top 3. I love it. It's called The Return. And this is, I didn't know the teleplay was written by J.M. DeMatteis. The story was written by Stan Berkowitz. I think I'm a big fan of J.M. DeMatteis. He's done some stuff that I've liked before. I think he wrote some X Factor stuff with Lorna.
That sounds about right.
Gotta check that. I think that's why I like him. But this episode was where Amazo resurfaces. Now, if anyone had been out there watching Justice League, he was the robot from the first season who like took on all the powers of the Justice League, and Lex Luthor ended up changing, like using him against the Justice League. He got all powerful, ended up going into space and was like, I have ascended. I don't need to be here anymore. And this episode is his return. Now he returns, he goes straight for Oa and like destroys it. So
yeah,
already the Green Lantern Corps is gone. John Stewart is like, oh no, we're not gonna have this. Everyone needs to go into like battle mode. And I think that's what I really like about this is because they like go straight into battle mode. All right, who's gonna be in what sections? And you know, I think Martian Manhunter was the one to come up with the team breakup, or it may have been Superman actually. And they have a team in space, a team in the sky, team on the ground. We're gonna have to stop him. And that whole episode is everyone trying to fight Amazo. Now Amazo clears all of them.
Just working. It's just like, sheesh. I don't know what to do. Like at that point, we just gotta let them take it.
Yeah, because they are not winning. He clears through everybody. Finally, they get down to it, and Dr. Fate convinces him to, like, you know, hold back, don't kill everybody. Lex Luthor is like, you know, your path is for you to kind of see the end of it all. Like you're allowed to do the one thing the rest of us can't, and that's kind of live forever. And that is kind of what kind of peels back the rage that Amazo had, and he decides to go off with Dr. Fate. And when he ends up going, he meets Shira, Hawkgirl there. we'll probably talk about it obviously as we watch more of these episodes, but I don't really like Hawk Girl that much. I have to admit, I'm sorry. And I really
Like
don't like her
just
and
in the
Green
show,
Lantern.
or you mean just in the show, or like in general?
Kinda in general.
We'll definitely discuss that more as we get more into it. But I'm pretty sure a lot of that is
I
because of
really
John.
don't like. Yeah, I really don't like her and John together. She ruins it. So yeah.
Um, it was cute. It was spicy.
How do you like this episode?
It was cool. It was cool to see like a bunch of the different heroes, like the fighting.
So many
I'm always gonna be
cameos.
here for superheroes, like fighting together and like really just trying to stop the evil. Dr. Fate continues to be the like most unhelpful, helpful person. I feel like
That's a
you
magic
could have
user
just
though,
stopped
right?
it.
That's what they usually are there for. It's 1 minute you got all the power in the world to stop everything. The next minute your chakra's not aligned and you can't do anything.
No, I think that's Superman.
I
But
don't know.
nonetheless,
Zatanna tried to do a locator spell in that other episode. She couldn't find Cersei.
well, it's Cersei. At the time, Cersei was more powerful.
Oh, at the time. Okay.
You caught it. But nonetheless, it was a really good episode, though. It was a good cameo fest. And it's always just nice to remember, like, the league is a league. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yes, we got the big seven, all that, da 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 da. No, the world don't stop when these 7 people are gone. Like, we got heroes all over, and they're gonna do the job that needs to be done.
Do you think we need more stuff like this, where it's kind of a cameo fest, where we get more of these other characters involved in this kind of stuff, or would you still rather it focused on other characters, maybe not the main 7, just a different group of people?
Bad. Do you mean like in animation, TV, or comics, or both?
Any of it, both.
I think I'd like to think that things like that in a comic book would be really not cool to see, but I also think about comic books that have attempted it before and how they don't really like last long. And I've like Avengers: The Initiative. Even Hickman's Avengers, when he had like 20 people on the team, the Champions, when that team really started getting big. I think they're really great avenues, but I think you kind of run into this problem where so many people are only coming for specific characters. And if you're not seeing those specific characters enough, then what's the point of getting it? Versus like a smaller condensed team where it's like, okay, I know I'm going to always see these 7 people interact with each other and I'm interested in those interactions, versus this book actually has 70 characters in it and I really only want to see 2 of
them. Yeah. But then you have all those extra characters though, and they don't have places to be seen or kind of.
That is true.
Lanes for themselves.
But everyone knows I'm a firm believer. Unfortunately, everyone can't be a star.
Right. Yeah. I'm okay with a cameo fest,
Get them in there, let them have their moment, let them do their thing, give them an issue, like, cool. But again, I just like feel like long term, it doesn't work for a lot of people.
I think you anchor it around, 6 and then just have a cameo fest of everybody in the background or all the other kind of stuff so that, you at least get some people in stuff instead of nothing at all.
That is true. Get them in. But I think,
all right, y'all.
I think digital comics are good for that too. Infinity Comics, stuff like that. I think those would be good avenues to take that. That's what I think.
Well, yeah, we would have to finally start embracing digital first, but we don't. Yeah. In the comics anyway, they don't seem to really want to embrace the digital lane.
And then Comixology made it worse, so.
And they going through it over there, child, because they just let go of half of their team.
I saw. It's so sad. Like, it's crazy. I don't know. Maybe it's a sign.
We got to fix
some
this.
money.
All right, y'all. Let's go ahead and take a break, and then we'll come right back.
Cool. All right, everybody. Welcome back to the relaunch portion of the show, everyone's favorite section. It was my week to have a relaunch, and I've been kind of going back and doing some reading on Dazzler. And I actually had this thought when I was reading this Lazarus Planet Assault on Krypton thing. So Leah Williams is writing a story for Power Girl in there that's going to be the one that I mentioned. It's the backup in Action Comics. And it has art from Marguerite Savage, who has this really like psychedelic kind of like old school 70s style of art that's like just so awesome. She's actually a person who I've always wanted to do a Dazzler book because I think the style just fits so perfectly. And Liv Clay Jupiter is showing up in that story as well. She's a Titans character named Omen that I really like. She's the doll. I know some people don't like to think that she is, but she is. Nonetheless, I have not been secretive about how I have felt about a lot of Leah's books. I understand that there's kind of like some fun, hard things that doesn't really always work for me. But when I was reading this Power Girl story in the Lazarus Planet book, I was like, oh, this isn't that bad. I was like, I don't really understand what's going on with Power Girl that much, but she's not a character I'm super attached to. It reads like just as a fun, weird time. It has great art, and Lilith is there. And as I was reading this, it clicked to me. I was like, oh, this is probably how a lot of people feel about Dazzler and Exterminators right now. A book that I don't necessarily like really enjoy. Again, it's supposed to be like this grindhouse fun thing, and everyone says it's just like good dumb fun, and it's just kind of just something that's enjoyable. But when I look at it as a Dazzler fan, I want more from the story, and I realize I don't get that. And I think Dazzler has this reputation of being a joke character. She was created in the 70s. She was kind of like the gimmick, disco, blah, blah, blah. They've tried to navigate this path of her as being this mutant pop star a lot in Marvel Comics. It doesn't always work. A lot of times the creators will get her and they'll make her go through the grunge emo phase where she starts wearing all black and she becomes punk and she becomes rock. And I think a lot of that loses the essence of the character. She is a character who should have a lot of that commentary on superstardom and regular living and femininity, sexism, just like all of those kind of things. Being a woman, lots of fun meta commentary, her home life and what it means to like be yourself and like being just like a lot of things that go on in her books that I think could be great that you're not going to get from something like Exterminators because it is just like dumb fun. But if this is successful, it kind of continues on to go in the vein of, oh, she'll always be looked at as this character you just bring around for dumb fun, for jokes, and you don't really get the meat of the story. So in thinking about that, I do think the idea of Exterminators for her is good. She needs kind of like a lane, a book. I would completely revamp it though, and that's where my relaunch comes in. No longer is it this just grindhouse thing where she's running around with Boom Boom Jubilee and Laura talking about like piss and poop and all that stuff. But we do kind of take it on the road. She gets back into her tour life. She talks about music. That's something that she loves to do. And she has like a small crew with her. And this is made up of some of like the other mutants that are on Krakoa. They can be acting as like bands, DJs, backups. You mix in people like I have DJ, Rhapsody, Ruckus, Siren, Skids, and Rusty, I think would be like really good groups for her to come along. And as they're going along on these tours,
Rusty, all right, throwbacks.
Okay, taking it back and you getting some originals in there, and I kind of like.
All right,
I think that works. And then with that, because you have Dazzler on tours, you also still mix in those aspects of superhero. And I think even though like I love vampires and then like fighting vampires and this has been fun, it's not something I want to see her do full time. But I think a lot of the things that you have about Dazzler is that she's a helpful person. She's been an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. She's done like charity work when she was a pop star. She's into philanthropy and stuff like that. So as they're going along on this tour, this world tour, this group is also kind of serving as the mystery gang. They're in these different cities with these various towns. There are things going on. They investigate, they stop, they do the shows, they have a good time, and then they move on to the next. And that's what the Exterminators crew does. They move along with this pop star. And in that, you can continue to kind of build up the story of like this group bonding together, Dazzler dealing with the pressures of the pop star and the superhero. And you can get to the commentary of like how people see her in the public versus how she wants to be. You can get to grow up some of these other characters and bond them together. DJ is obviously pretty much a blank slate. Same with Rhapsody. Siren is a character who a lot of people know. It would be fun to see her. Skids and Rusty are that throwback. Ruckus is just in there because I really like Ruckus. I'm not going to lie to you. But that would be the girl that I would go. He's hot. He's a bad bitch.
Polaris handled him when they fought before, but it's cool. That was in the past. It was in the past. It was in the past. I do like his hair.
Exterminators relaunch. Dazzler is obviously still the lead. She's going on tour. She's got her group. We're gonna have a good time. Sorry to Boom Boom, Jubilee, Laura. Laura will be fine. Boom Boom, she'll show up in the X Force eventually. Jubilee, safe space. I don't really like Jubilee. I'm sorry to her fans. She's not on my list. But that's my relaunch for the week. We're
I
doing
kind of am
Exterminator.
really interested in Exterminators becoming like a Scooby Doo mutant gang. That's kind of really cool. And I think that would be great. You know, a like, would it be mystery or is it just like action based missions where they're just kind of like, you know,
I think you get a
they
little
get
bit of both.
attacked because of whatever kind of hijinks?
I think you can get a little bit of both. Obviously, like you'll have the groups investigating some stuff because they hear something's going on in this town, but they are a group of traveling mutants. They're going to deal with some prejudice and people trying to attack them and setting some things up, I'm sure, which is again is something you could deal with in the pop star life of Dazzler. She's had stalkers. How does that affect her? How does her backup singer Siren doesn't get the stalker now and like trying to run up on stage? Remember when that boy ran up on Beyonce?
Yeah.
How they gonna act? You know what I'm saying? And those are the kind of things that I would really like to see in that book and with that group.
Making Siren the backup singer is kind of a cool idea for her too. She needs a lane, so that could be fun.
I actually just said that just to say it. I don't know, but
I don't know. I thought it was kind of hot. Second lead singer.
Her powers, she's got super powers, and I know like back in Pat's X Factor run, they've done it where she can like change the module of her voice and like hypnotize people and do stuff like that. So I feel like move that to some singing. She could always be a road manager if she can't really sing. She's there. She's got cool powers. It's really for the voice. She's really good at power dancer when she needs it.
That could be fun.
But
I
that's
like
my
it.
relaunch for the week. Thank you.
All right, y'all. Well, let us know what you think of that Exterminators idea. Maybe we can get that ball rolling after this most recent mini ends. It can kind of roll into something else. I'd like to see that team, especially that whole like, Scooby Doo mystery machine kind of team with the bus. That's kind of cool.
Go for it.
I like it. All right, y'all. Well, that brings us to the end of this show. Make sure you rate and subscribe us wherever you get your podcasts. You can catch us on Twitter and Instagram at Another Relaunch. You can find us on YouTube if you want to watch us at Another Relaunch TV. You can email us at anotherrelaunch@gmail.com. You can find me on most social media platforms at UncannyLZ. Keenan, where can they find you?
As always, you guys know you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Keenan Lance. There is an underscore at the end.
All right, let's get up out of here, and we'll catch y'all next week.
Peace.
Peace out.